Hi everyone, I'm here with you today to teach you how to hit a forehand. It's not like that. So forehand is an opportunity to control the point. That's why you want to have a bigger forehand than backhand. And I'm excited to teach you this because this stroke is really going to change your game.
So guys, I am so excited. I'm watching a video of Venus Williams teaching you how to hit a forehand. This is really neat because she's an icon, she's a legend, and now she's doing some online tennis instruction, which is what I do. This video has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of views, a lot of comments. People really love it. I really hope she keeps going. Make sure to subscribe to her channel. Also subscribe to my channel. Again, my name is Peter Freeman with Crunch Time Coaching. I have 50,000 subscribers on my channel. And we also do an event, Venus, we also do an event called TennisCon where we interview the best tennis coaches and legends of the game. That's coming in October, so I'd love it to be part of that. Rolling on the screen some of the people we've had and we've interviewed over the past years. So let's get right into this video, reacting to Venus teaching the forehand. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
So if you like this channel, please press like. And also if you want to have more content like this, you should just go ahead and hit notifications so you'll know when I'm teaching tennis and all the other things that we do on this channel. So go ahead and hit that notification and also hit subscribe. So here we
All right, do what Venus says. She just said to like and subscribe. First of all, she got an amazing camera presence. No surprise there because she's basically been in front of the camera since she's been a kid.
we are with the forehand. And what's most important about a forehand is that you want it to be your biggest shot. Why? Because we can actually get more power off of this wing on the forehand, and also you just can control the point more. You have more reach on the forehand than across the body with a backhand. So you're gonna have a lot more opportunities with that. That's why we want to develop the biggest forehand possible.
So interesting, Venus right there is saying the forehand is the biggest shot in tennis. You know, the serve is huge, but when you think about it, you're serving, you can control the point with your serve, but you can always hit the forehand in every game, serve and returns. And she's saying you got more reach, it's going to be stronger, more powerful than your backhand, so you really want to develop into a weapon. Pretty good point.
The first thing that we want to do on the forehand is go ahead and get into an athletic position, of course. These are the basics. So we're going to get into that
she's
athletic
teaching the
position.
basics.
Yay! And then what we're going to do from there is that we're going to turn our shoulders. So why? Because you got to prepare to hit the ball, duh. So we're going to turn our shoulders, and we're going to turn as a unit. Both shoulders turn, not one shoulder, both shoulders. Turn as a unit. Now you notice also that my feet are pivoting.
Okay, so this is big. She's talking about turning as a unit. She's saying this is the basics. These are the basics of a forehand, and that's important what she's pointing out, because a lot of recreational players, when they get out there, and I've taught a ton of them, they start hitting with their arms and their hands, and they don't have any control over the ball, they don't have the power that they want. And the pros, the legends like Venus, what she does is she turns in a unit turn. And what that is doing is that is loading up the legs. There's something called the kinetic chain in tennis where power comes from the ground up. So she's loading up those legs, digging them into the ground. Also, her core is now loaded up, so she can release this all into the ball, which is not only going to give her more power, but more control. So make sure you follow this tip on the unit turn. Great start right here from Venus.
But especially if you're at a beginner level, you're going to want to turn your shoulders and make sure they both go together. So what some people will do is they'll just turn like this. Do you see how weird that looks?
It looks weird.
Turn both shoulders. And this gives us the opportunity to also be able to explode into the ball later on when we start to hit the shot. So we're going to turn those shoulders for a beginner. And then this gives us two options from here. There's two ways to go. For us beginners, we're going to go ahead and step. And it's called a closed stance. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up stepping, and then we're going to finish like so. I'm going to show you what happens in between, but I want to show you how that stroke finishes. And then for us advanced people, we're going to use a closed stance sometimes. We're also going to use the open stance too. So when we're going to pivot to turn, and then what happens is we keep the stance open as we hit. So that stance stays open. When, you might say, do we use the open stance and the closed stance? Different ways, different reasons. So we're going to use this closed stance when we're moving forward and being aggressive. So when we're moving into a shot, you can also use an open stance to move into a shot also. And when we just want to use our body weight to step into it and get extra behind it. And also we can use this stance, like let's say you're a person who pops up a lot. If you're using your stance, you're going to be able to stay level. We'll talk about staying level too. You're also going to use that open stance when you're moving. So if you're running to the ball, you're going to use that open stance so you don't take an extra step.
All right, so I love that she addresses the stance in tennis and the open and the closed stance. And you notice how she's set up. This is another thing that recreational players do a lot, is they will close up their body. So it's super important that she's mentioning that to you guys, is that a lot of recreational players, they see the ball and they get side on, and this front leg gets in the way and it locks up your hips, it locks up your core. And the other thing that I love is that there's many coaches out there that say you should only be stepping in the closed stance. That's more maybe an old school thought. And then there's other coaches who want to teach more modern, saying, no, you should play more modern, you need to hit everything open. And she's a great example of the pros. When you watch the pros play, it's like dance steps. They don't just hit closed, they just don't hit open. They do both when it makes sense. She says when you have time, step in and drive it. When you have less time, basically, that's when you got your open stance. The ball's coming back deep, open stance hit. You're on the run, open stance hit. And so she gets set up, and all the pros get set up in something I call the open option, which basically means they do their unit turn and they leave their body open, so they have the option to either step in or hit open, which is great. I'm so happy that she's pointing this out in this video, because this is super important to play great tennis.
And I'll show you why. So if you're running to the ball, you're able to hit this open stance to recover. If you're using a closed stance, you're going to take one extra step this way to recover. So we don't want to give up any room in the court. So that's why we'll use an open stance when we're on the move.
Do you hear that? When she's talking about running out there, how if you use closed on the run, you got to do the extra step. And you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal? Is this one extra step? Well, if you watch the pros play, they hit the ball so fast and they're so accurate that nowadays, if you're out here and you take that one extra step, by the time you're recovering, as hard as they're hitting the ball too, the ball is already on the other side, and now they're falling behind the point. It's either a winner or they're barely getting there and they're going to lose the point. Where when they hit that open stance, they can recover really fast. You're going to notice that a lot. So watch tennis and really look for those open stance forehands, especially on the run.
When we're on the move.
Great
Not
job
always,
by Venus.
But kind of 90% of the time, I do at least. That's what my dad taught me. Another most important thing is you're going to stay level. So think wherever you start, you want to finish. So hopefully you're using your legs, because we started in that athletic position, right? So we're staying level in that position. Our head should not move. It should stay level. What happens when you're not staying level and you're doing the matrix or something? Your ball's going to do the matrix too. So if you're hitting and coming up, guess what the ball's going to do? It's going to come up. So make sure you're level throughout the shot. No matter how you're hitting the shot, stay level. Even if you're like jumping into the shot, stay level. You don't want to be jumping and moving and opening and moving your head. No matrix. So what do we have? We have our turn. We have our...
I love this. I mean, she's so clear in her instruction and making so many awesome points that are going to help you play much better tennis. Talking about staying level in the head is big, because tennis is kind of like golf. First of all, you have to have great technique to be accurate. And if your body is too active and moving at the wrong time, the ball's going to take off on you. It's going to go everywhere. So just think about a golfer who's swinging and they lift their head up too early to see where the shot's going. They're trained to keep their head down. And if you watch Roger Federer hit a forehand, in fact, we'll show him right now hitting one, when he's done more than anybody, he hits that ball and his head just stays there level, like Venus is talking about. And so that's super important, because your natural reaction is going to be want to kind of jump and spring and look, and this is a great tip. So she's saying even if you're jumping in the ball, keep that head level. Awesome, awesome stuff.
Open or a closed stance. For the purposes of this video, we're going to stick with a closed stance. And we have our closed stance.
And I like how she's teaching the beginners a
swing.
closed stance first.
So
I agree.
How I teach a forehand is that C's get degrees. So the motion is just like a C, just like a C, very circular. So we've got our racket back, we've got our motion going, and when we start to step, we turn and we start to step with the ball as we're going into our motion. The most important thing is that we want to make sure we've stepped before we hit the ball, okay? So that's going to take some practice, especially if you're a beginner, kind of timing that moment. But you want to make sure you're fully stepped before you hit the ball. Why? Because you got to be balanced. So if you're moving while you hit the ball, you won't be able to control it. Yes, as you get more advanced, there'll be moments where you can't control it and you can't do all this stuff. You know, sometimes you're just in the situation that you're in. But in a perfect world, you're controlling it. That's why when we play tennis, we want to move our opponents and get them out of position, so that way they're off balance. When you have your feet under you, that's when things are dangerous. When your feet are not under and you're moving, that's when you can't hit the ball as well. So that's why we want to make sure we're here. Now, also our contact point is important too. The contact point is in front. When it's in front, we're able to attack. If your contact point is here.
So she's about to get in the contact point, but I want to stop it because she mentioned something called the C's get degrees. And what she means right there is that nice C shape. And why is she telling you this? Because this is going to help you get some nice rhythm into the ball, and also going to help you get under and then up to it and through, which is going to give you top spin. I don't think she goes too much into the grip, but basically the more, watch this, the more you face those strings down to the ground, that's going to help you put friction on the ball and make the ball roll. So if you get this C motion going, when you go to hit, it's going to put friction on the ball. You see that ball's going up and down and in, up, down, and in, because I'm doing a nice natural C motion. Baya. And she's not really going into the detail of like a lag and snap and things like that, because this is a basic forehand. And I feel sometimes coaches introduce that too early to players that are not ready. And so if you're thinking about this nice C motion, you're starting to be a little bit more advanced and what you see on the pro tour. So again, I really love this nice, clear, detailed instruction from Venus. Let's continue on with the video.
Contact point is here. You're going to miss the ball. You're not going to be able to control it, and it's going to spray. And it will usually spray out this way. It's not going to go cross court. It's going to spray wide into the alleys. So if your ball is spraying wide a lot, you know it's because you're hitting it, you know, behind you or, you know, at your waist. Where does your arm want to be? You want your arm to be as straight as possible in the contact point and in front of you. And you also want to be hitting under the ball as well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a ball so that way you can see what that contact point looks like. So where's that contact point? It's right under here. And the reason we want that is because it's going to have us have spin. And also that's why our arm is straight and also out in front, so that way we can control it with spin and use our hand to guide the ball. And when we hit under it, we're also going to get those rotations. So when you hit under the ball is going to start to rotate like this. And when it rotates like this, it's also going to go down, okay? Now, if you hit it just straight out in front right here, the ball is going to be flat. There will be no rotation. The ball will travel through the air like this, and it'll just be a projectile. You could stop it anytime or not. So hit under it for spin and control.
Okay, so here she's talking about getting under the ball. So Venus talking about getting under the ball is very important, but I don't want it to confuse you the way she demoed this one move. So you just have to be careful about this. She talked about getting under the ball, and then she demonstrated with her hand, and I know a lot of people, you're watching Venus, you're gonna take her very literal here. She says, if you get under the ball, it's gonna put rotation on it. But if you get under the ball this way, by opening up your hand, it's not going to put rotation on. In fact, what it's going to do is this going to make the ball fly on you, okay? So it's going to make the ball fly on you. So I've got my red ball like you there, Venus, and what you actually want to do is you want to be looking for the bottom of the ball like she talks about, and making sure that your hand is lower than the ball as you're coming up, especially as you're at the baseline. When you get up closer to the net and the ball's higher, that changes. But when you're back here, you want to feel that your hand is under the ball, but what you don't want to do is open up your hand at all. I call that a tweak. You don't want to open up the hand at all. What you want to do is you want to trust instead of tweak. So you're here, you're low, now you're coming up. Look, that wrist is not moving like a lot of people think. You don't want to manipulate, move, tweak your wrist. You want to come up and you want to keep that wrist right there engaged, and then through. Notice how I start to turn over there, and then when I do that, now I'm going to be hitting that top spin. You see how that ball? I'm doing the C like Venus says, and I'm coming under, rolling, and look at that ball going up and in. But the one thing I'm not doing is opening my hand. See, if I open my hand, then the ball is going to fly, and the rotation's not going to be there. So let's continue on with this video. It's outstanding. I think she's getting into the offhand, which is one of my favorite tips she gives in the entire video.
Very important. So the finish. What's important on the finish, so we've gotten to here, we got our contact point below, the arm is straight, and also, you know, how far away should your arm be from you? So what's important is that you use your left arm, and that left arm is a guide. Let me put this ball away. So what's important is you use your left arm as a guide to help you in the beginning, to know how far away your arm should be from you. So use this arm as a guide. The racket should be outside of there. Sometimes it gets a little close. We don't want the ball close. Sometimes that's going to happen. And when the ball gets too close to you, you're not going to be able to hit it here in front.
All right, so Venus is teaching like a vet because she picked up on one of the biggest habits that recreational players have. I ran a clinic out in Cincinnati where we actually went and watched the Western Southern Open. We went and watched her sister play, and out of about 24 students, 22 of them, everybody we could catch, whether they were like a 3-0 to like a 4-0 plus, we all caught them on camera too close. And again, a lot of recreational players, for whatever reason, don't use their offhand. Or when you watch the pros, they're always set like this with that offhand. You can look at a magazine, see them set like this. You see Venus set like this. Her sister Serena, Roger, everybody gets set like this, and they're helping, again, also measure where that ball is. Notice she says you want it to be outside of the hand. So that is, I'm telling you, if you do one thing in this video, start looking like this, and you'll start looking like a pro. Get set, get that arm out there. You're going to look so good when you go to play.
You're just going to have to improvise and hit it a little bit wherever you are, but ideally you have enough time and space to be hitting it out here every time. Okay, so there we are. And you're going to also use your left arm. So you want to keep your left arm closed. You do not want the left arm down. You do not want the left arm to open up as you hit. You see how that doesn't even look right? And when you open up as it hits, the ball's going to spray. Just like your arm spraying, ball will spray too. So you're going to keep that arm closed. That contact point is there. Now what happens on the finish? So the finish just needs to be long. So you're going to have a long finish, and then you can come around. So that's kind of the new finish for today. The old school finish in the 70s was really straight. But now what's more important is that you actually do finish the stroke, and then you can go ahead and come around. You don't have to catch the racket. I happen to catch my racket, and there you go. That's the end of the forehand. Now let's talk about direction. If you want.
Okay, so to finish up the forehand, she talks about having the finish here, where she comes here and you finish over your shoulder. She said a little more old school would just be to finish straight out there, which is going to give you more of a flat shot. But the more you are finishing around your shoulder, your stroke becomes a little more rotational. Again, it's easier to get that topspin. And though she says you don't have to catch the follow through, but she does. And I love this, especially because this is a basic beginner class that she's trying to teach here. I recommend everybody watching this video, you get very good at pointing here at the ball like she mentioned and catching your follow through. If you just do those two tips, then you're going to be looking really, really good. When you go out and you play, compared to most recreational players at your club, if you can point and catch, you're going to have some of the prettiest strokes out there just with those two awesome tips she gave. Okay, so let's watch the end of this video where Venus is demonstrating the forehand, plus we'll throw in some highlights of some of her best forehands that she's hit, you know, out there on the tour. And don't forget, guys, to go to Venus's channel and subscribe. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel as well. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Here's some awesome forehands from Venus finishing up this video.
Okay, so we got all the steps to the forehand. Now it's just time to hit a few balls.
So strong.